Now you're welcome along to this week's edition of the Clare Champion Sports Chat podcast. It's a two-part special, we'll call it this week. The first part of the podcast, we've got the Oracle himself, Rory Hickey, in studio to look back on the Clare Senior Football and Intermediate final as well. And in the second half of the podcast, we will be discussing the latest developments in the race, or I don't know, can you call it a race to become the Clare Senior Hurling Manager? We need maybe a few more competitors to call it that, but that's what we'll be talking about in the second half. As you mentioned, Rory Hickey here in studio with us, along with champion editor Peter O'Connell. And when we last spoke to you, it was last Thursday night from the Belbridge House Hotel. We had a few predictions of draws on the night, Rory, but you stuck your head above the parapet with a score prediction. You went with, remind us?
I went with 10-all.
Yeah,
10-all, Derek.
and it was?
And it finished, as we all know, 9 each.
Yeah, not bad.
So, I mean, he was wrong.
But
that's hard.
But not bad for a novice, you know.
Yeah,
not bad
I know we strive for perfection, but I mean, we praise you on that anyway. Scoreline correct, Rory. Type of game, quality of game, probably not what we predicted.
Probably not what we predicted, Derek. And we did say, and everyone did say, that both teams had the same sort of style, and that kind of nullified each other really. If you look, both played with a sweeper. Both played a lot of people in the middle of the field, even one or two up, and that kind of nullified the game and made it one of those tight games. And after 10 minutes, my scoreline was looking good for the 10-all, but and as we saw, it did finish 9-all. But there could have been a few goals in the game for Milltown. They made kind of more of the chances. So, you know, the next day, either one of them will have to change their styles, or someone will have to either push a few more up and commit more to attack, maybe.
Peter, the common theme when you talk to people about this game seems to be that it was a game that both sides were more afraid of losing than they were concerned with winning. Is that fair to say?
I think it probably is. If you looked at a video of that game and somehow managed to remove the crowd from it, you would no way would you think that's a senior championship final. You maybe it's an early season Keys Cup game or something like that. We know that both of them are capable of producing a lot more than that. But as we spoke about last week, and it's going to be relevant again this weekend, whoever wins, I think, will be relieved as opposed to going absolutely crazy. I think it'll be relief for the winner that they didn't lose. Not so much being... And
even, I sense that in the crowd now. I stood up on the far side, we'll say the Shed side, the CBS side, the River side, and it was so quiet at sections of the game, in during sections of the game, and people were looking around the place, and you could see it in the players. They were afraid to make mistakes, afraid to have a go at it, afraid to have a cut off it. You know, no one, as you said there, no one wanted to lose the game, but someone has to go for it now the next day, and they have to try and open up and have a cut off it.
I suppose the fear is, if you really go for it, do you leave yourself open? You know, if Kilmurray really go for it, for example, they could leave themselves open, and the opposite could happen as well. You know, if Milltown really went for it, they could leave Keelan Sexton, maybe Dermot Coughlin, a bit too much space, and in really going for it, you could end up regretting really going for it. So I suppose it's going to take a lot of bravery from one or the other, you know, to do that, like to really go for it, you know.
And talking at the tape, I have poured over it, lads, and I mean, it ties into what you're saying there, in that there was a couple of times where Kilmurray would have tried to press high and Milltown caught them on the break. You look at, in particular, Garo Curtin's break to set up Owen Curtin's points in the second half, and Kieran Malone's run. What a fantastic run that was. But again, it came from creating that overlap and just breaking the line and being gone into that space. And then you look from the Kilmurray perspective, particularly in the first half, Shane Hickey's ball in that created the opening, and then the ball from Coughlin in for Hogan. Like the couple of times they went direct and kept that space between the full and half forward line. Like Shawnee Malone was in trouble on Keelan, he had the beating of him. Like, I mean, so
it was, but the fact that you can,
those facets, like
there was, but the fact that you can pick out 3 or 4 of those incidents will tell you how few there was in the game. It was fierce, cagey in the middle. There was a lot of hand passing across the back. No one wanted to lose the ball, so it was the safest option everyone took at every time. Just pass it laterally, pass it across. But maybe the next day there might be more longer balls played into the Keelans or into Dermot Coughlin aside or young McDonough, you know. But hopefully we see a little bit more of that now the next day, and it opens out a bit.
And funny enough, probably the players who were on most ball were probably the 4 wing backs.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And the fact that they're obviously out on the wing.
But Michael Hogan carried some amount of ball, especially in that first half, and kicked one great point. I think he was the only one that scored from play in that first half for Kilmurray, but he carried some amount of ball.
I think that those four lads and Hogan, Dermot Coughlin got on a lot of ball, got bottled up a lot out near the stand sideline, if you can call it that, in the first half. I wonder. No, they did put him in the full forward line, because I was kind of thinking, okay, he's getting on ball, but you really kind of want him closer to goal. Now they did put him into the full forward line for a good bit of the second half, but the quality of ball didn't come into him, so you'd wonder if he'd been inside in the first half when there was decent ball going into Keelan, could he have done a bit more damage out there. But look, I think all these things, the two managers and management teams will be going through all these kind of things, trying to find an opening somewhere.
It seemed though that Milltown got their scores a little handier in the second half. I mean, they had 5 scorers from play, 6 in total.
Yeah.
Kilmurray had 1 scorer from play in Michael Hogan, and probably deserve a point or two to Shawnee Malone as well for what was probably the most incredible point we'll ever see in a county final. But I suppose that has to be qualified as well by the fact that it was probably Shawnee's what you'd call rousing point before half time to see the side's level. That was a massive moment in the game as well.
And you know what? I was delighted for the lad. I was delighted for the lad, right? I know he kicked the ball, in fairness, over his own crossbar. And you could see what he was trying to do. He had the ball in his hand. I just looked back at that incident there, and I thought he was looking across the goal maybe to kick into a corner back. That other corner back got narrowed down, so then he turned to his goalkeeper. And he half had the momentum of a kick that was to go across the goal, but it went back to the goalkeeper. So you could just see it crawling over the bar. Now another fella of less character would stand around and say, I'll see out this game now, and they'll probably take me off now in a minute. But within 10 minutes he was up the field scoring at the other end, in fairness to him, and he played a super game afterwards, in fairness to him.
No, he's a quality player, but
quality character to come back from what happened.
He just has that capability of putting something like that behind him. I mean, he's given an awful lot to Milltown, and in fairness, he's had injuries as well over the last couple of years, so I'd say he, maybe that has helped him to kind of realise he's out on the field. A lot better to be out on the field. Fair enough, he made a mistake, but he didn't. It wasn't a deliberate mistake. He was trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, we all know the kind of finish Shawnee is. He'll be fine. Who takes more encouragement from that?
I was about to say it, yeah. So in that second half, we forget about the first half now, 4 each, right? Nothing really happened in the first half. But in that second half, I thought personally, now standing up and chatting to the fellas around me, that Milltown made a little bit more of their chances. They were a bit more imaginative up front. There was a couple of times, I think, the lad of the Clearys had one ball, and if he'd have pushed it to the substitute Curtin, if the quick hands had gone through, he was in on goal. So, looking at it in the second half, I thought Milltown made a few more opportunities, but still, there isn't much to pick between the teams. I don't know who I'm going to shout for next week yet. I might make a prediction later on in the week, but I thought Milltown might have learned a bit more and drawn a bit more from that second half. Yeah,
I mean, I think you'd have to say Milltown should have. It ended in a draw, but Milltown should have won that game. So I suppose based on logic, if they should have won the last day, they probably should win the next day.
Logic doesn't work in the GA. You know that.
But not in the county final, because
it doesn't. No.
Yeah.
But Kilmurray, I think Kilmurray have scope for enormous improvement. There's very few Kilmurray players that you could say played well.
Very few. We're looking at the list there, yeah.
And that's Keelan did win most decent ball that went into him.
That's right. Big thing for Kilmurray is Keith King. He hobbled off there.
He hobbled on as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He'd been strapped up before the game. We understand he injured an ankle in the warm-up.
Okay.
Obviously, with the replay being Sunday, I mean,
a week isn't a long time to recover from that.
I mean, they'll know their experience. They'll know how to mind themselves this week, and they've got the natural hydrotherapy pool behind Seafield. I'd say
they'll go for it.
Popular spot this week, but I mean, matchup wise, we were always talking about goalkeepers as well. We have to say that Ian McInerney almost immaculate from kick out, 16 from 17 from their target. Yeah. Sean O'Brien struggled with the first few, but got on top of after that. I think 11 from 15 was his final tally. So nothing in it.
No, nothing in it, and it's just maybe a break of the ball the next day. We might be sitting here talking about a replay of one of those Milltown goals that gone in, but they didn't. And Kilmurray will draw a bit of encouragement from that. They'll try and tighten things up at the back and open it out a little bit more in the front, and a bit more rather than latter, a bit more first time football if they can, and get the runners off the shoulder, because they're very good at that when they do it. I
wonder, will Kilmurray look at starting Steve Maloney, possibly? Shane Hickey, wing forward, would they get more out of him in the half back line?
Maybe, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but I suppose you look at the pace, Peter, that they got from the half-back line, from Daniel Welch and Daryl Sexton in the first half in particular. Now, I suppose Milltown pressed that bit higher in the second and probably cut down the opportunity to do that. I think, to be honest, I actually think Shane's best position is centre forward.
Okay.
I think he's class at that kind of spread in the play option. I mean, as I said, look at that ball he played in directed led. I think it was Hogan's point. He gave it to Keelan and Keelan hit it off. I mean, he's got that ability about him. I just think Shane is a good link man, and maybe the two boys in are
or have Kilmurray a rabbit in the hat in the subs bench to start, to bring on an 18-year-old sitting there that might just change the game and start him the next day that Milltown won't be expecting, you know.
I'm not sure, but I'd imagine that, I suppose, Niall Hickey, by his own admissions, probably hadn't the greatest of days out.
Not his greatest day, no.
So I mean, you've got perhaps a change coming there. You wouldn't know what way the horse would be thinking. Like, but Eamon Bracken thought he made a bit of a difference. Like,
yeah,
he definitely has something to offer.
So his hand is up now. So they might reshape that forward line a bit to, as you say, someone to come maybe from 11 and kick that ball into that full forward line. Because if you get Keelan going, he looked good the last day. He kicked a couple of frees and settled into it. His ball handling was very good, and he looks the best he's been nearly all championships. So
if I was from Kilmurray, I'd really like the idea of going with Keelan and Dermot Coughlin inside and just kind of trying to use the rest of the players into, as you said, getting quick ball, and at the same time kind of try to cut down the space in the middle third, because Milltown do have legs.
And they're pretty settled. I mean, you look at their 15 and what came on. I don't think they'll be making many changes in personnel.
Milltown?
No, I don't.
Can't see it.
I don't see it either. No.
But I do think they'll be looking for more. There's a good few of the team that started last year. They'll be looking for more. They'll be looking for more from Owen Cleary.
Yeah,
they'll be looking for more.
Kieran, in fairness to him, I thought Cramarcy did quite a good job in holding Cleary.
He did.
You don't do that handy.
Yeah.
No, like Milltown supporters around me were disappointed with Owen Cleary on the day. There's no point saying that.
But that's probably because of Owen's standards.
Exactly. Yeah. But the next day he could hit the flames and
easy.
They'll be looking for more from. Brian Curtin, he obviously playing a sweeper, got on a load of ball. Kieran Malone, to be fair, played really well and kind of went at him a lot as well. But Curtin, I thought had a great game.
Yes, so did I. But I thought Brian Curtin, I've seen him in other games carrying the ball. When the sweeper picks up a ball, starting attacks, he didn't tend to do that. They were very, very wary of the inside forward line for Kilmurray. He just got it, laid it off. He didn't do those dart and runs that he usually does. And the man has legs to burn like. So maybe they might look for a bit more out of him the next day, heading down the middle,
I suppose the one or two times he actually did break in the first half, you could see that when the attack broke down, that's where the space was left for Keelan to do the damage. So it's the Robin Peter to play Paul.
Milltown definitely more from Owen Cleary, more from Darren McDonough, more from Cormac Murray. They'll be looking for more from the three.
And I think at midfield, actually both lads that were on each other didn't have the greatest games either, in Aidan McCarthy and Oisin Looney. I felt both struggled to feature and probably cancelled each other out in that sense then as well.
Maybe.
Yeah, Aidan McCarthy started fairly well. Was on a ball a lot in the first 10-15 minutes, but definitely didn't kind of feature a whole lot after that.
No predictions, so lads, you're holding cards tight?
I'll hold the cards for another little while and we'll see what way things pan out during the week. But if I was to edge for someone, like, looking at the game the last, I thought Milltown finished that a little bit stronger, if it's anything to go by the next day. But I wouldn't rule anything out, no. But I have to compliment, we're glancing down at it here. I picked up the programme there back in the Bellbridge Thursday night. It was a Thursday or Friday I picked it up now. But a super programme by the PRO Michael O'Connor. In fairness to him, took a bit of slag in the last day. There was a little error in the printing with one of the teams for the hurling final. That's a real programme to savour for people for years to come.
Yeah, it's done up as the yearbook, which is probably the best way around. I think the old yearbook was sort of dying in its feet a bit, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, that is worth €5.
Exactly.
You can charge €5 for that, and even to be fair, and I hadn't seen it for a long time before the game, and to be honest, even kind of a bit during the game, an awful lot of people are reading the programme.
Yeah. There are, yeah.
You don't always see it.
He did tell me that one lad came to his wagon out the front that was full of programmes, about 18 programmes to send them to people around the world, their relations around the world. And look, that speaks a lot for the county final programme, and fair play to him.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can criticise the board, we can praise them.
We're down the line, there's no doubt about that. Time catching up with us, Roy, just a quick word on the intermediate final.
Yes, I got to see that.
Amazing to think that 1 point in the second half will win you a county title, but
unbelievable.
Bricken's taking it home.
Brecken's taking it home and delighted for him, yeah. And they took a chance with Tony. He came from another code. We had him in here having a chat with us, and he's seemed to work the oracle and got the bounce out of him, and they got themselves over the line. But a word for Kildayser, poor old Kildayser, their third time in a row. They must be crestfallen back there, back along the peninsula there. But what can you do? All you do is regroup and have another go next year. That's it.
But they've got a real silver lining, Peter, in Emmett McMahon. I mean, outstanding again, in fairness to the level.
Yeah, and look, and we spoke about it in advance. Both Breckens and Kildayser have outstanding young footballers, and obviously very, very disappointed for Kildayser to lose it. But they're definitely going in the right direction. They're producing really good young players, well coached, well able to play, well able to mix it, the whole lot. It'll take them a bit of time to get over it, but they're definitely heading in the right direction, without a doubt.
Yeah, and the celebrations in the spa go on past September, so they'll like that, and of course Munster Club to come as well. So
exactly, yeah.
That, no doubt about it. And that's where we have to leave the football chat for this week's podcast. Rory, thanks for popping in.
No problem.
Rory's about to be replaced by the I won't say what kind of version, the older version. We've got the younger version.
My cousin.
Yeah, the next time you look to Peter's right hand side or the left on the screen as you're looking at it, it'll be a very different figure there. Join us after the break. Now, welcome back to the second part of this week's Champion Sports Chat podcast. As if by miracles or magic or somehow, Rory Hickey has morphed into Fergie O'Loughlin.
He wished one time he...
Rory, you've never looked as well. We're talking hurling, of course, this week again, because once more the saga rumbles on. Latest developments, I suppose, to bring you up to speed if you haven't heard, was that the deadline, first of all, the trap door shut yesterday evening, Monday evening at 5 o'clock. The committee were called en masse to Clare Abbey to be told that as of that evening, as we had 2 weeks ago, there were two candidates in the running for the role of Clare senior hurling manager, one being Brian Lohan and one being Louis Mulqueen. That 5-man committee, we understand, will be interviewing those candidates tomorrow, Wednesday night, at which point the backroom teams will be revealed. We understand, they weren't asked the last time, but I've no doubt that the committee involved at this stage will be asking that question. And from there, we understand that there's a delegate meeting to be called on next Tuesday night, when all should be revealed and nominated and proposed, and no doubt a big debate going on again. But Fergie, the circus rolling on, does it matter that it's essentially a 2-week delay from what we had? Because I think the initial, I suppose, backlash or the initial concern was the process which led to the initial two names being put in, whereas now we've arrived at it by the proper channels. Is it being principled for the sake of being principled, or just how important was that, do you think?
I think going forward, it's important now that this protocol has probably come down through the right channels, that for further appointments of managers or whatever the case may be, that the right protocol is done. In fairness to everybody across the board, if this had taken place 2-3 months ago, everybody would have been on behind the whole system and that. But I think going forward, I think it should be a blueprint for the Clare County Board going forward now, that the right things are done, and respect is given to everybody. I still, and I've said it in the last podcast, I was hoping for a tomahawk out of the blue of someone else's name to come into the equation and maybe just give it that complete and restart again, that we had a new name into the hat, and that somebody could really go into it with haven't had any of this controversy linked to him, and that it could have been a complete freshness, whether it takes another week or 2 weeks to get that through or not. But again, it's very, very hard, Derek, to get away from the whole thing. And I know people want us to shut up about it, and people want us to get on with it, and people want us to be talking about more important things I was told during the week that's happening in County Clare. All I'm interested in and very, very much angry at the moment is that the most important people in this whole setup are the players, and they have now started their year in a major setback already. That's unfair. Not for the sake of repeating what I said in the last podcast, I think it's awful important, especially from the year we had last year, that this group of players, and if it was a new incoming management team or the remaining management team, needed to get a really, really good start to the year. And they've been denied that now by a county board that has really lacked leadership throughout. And no matter what way you beat it up or beat it down, now I think the process now is still, it's in doubt. I would love to have seen a complete independent committee that would have dealt with the issue now from the last county board meeting. And now we have a situation now where it's going to come down to, I suppose, Brian Lohan or Louis Mulqueen, and I suppose the dogs in the street know of where Brian Lohan is coming from, and the dogs in the street know Louis Mulqueen has probably come in on the back of maybe a lot of county board delegates and members maybe wanting him in there, and where it is an honour to be nominated to be taken over the Clare team, and that I just wonder, and again, very interesting to see where it will go and where the interviewing process will take place. I would love to know. Obviously, it has to be a lot better than the first one, because anybody that could win, and that's not as a manager of his backroom team. And I suppose that's the underlying question out there now. I think it's been kept very, very secret that there isn't too many people know who both their teams are, backroom teams are, which is going to be very important.
Yeah, is that not a positive in a way, though, Peter, in that we've asked, I suppose, for a correct process to take place, and without going too almost legal on it, like without prejudicing it, like let that detail come out to the people that have been tasked to find out that detail, I guess. I mean, I was encouraged, I have to say, last night by the fact that we're so used to this cloak and dagger and under the shadow of darkness nonsense that has gone on in recent years, that Clare GA last night tweeted, "We are announcing that these are our two candidates, Brian Lohan and Louis Mulqueen," and similar, and we'll talk about the minor position in a second, but that Fergal Lynch and Brian Coffey, they're our two. That left nobody in any doubt. The speculation was all cut out. Here was an official statement from the official board's account. And that, to me anyway, I think was the first positive step towards the transparency that we've looked for. And no more than the management teams not being kind of in the public domain as such, maybe for process sake. Is that a positive?
I think it is. I think the scenario up to now, was just not acceptable at all, and it wasn't accepted, which is very important. The club said no. They said no. We want a better process than this. Now that this process has been implemented, I think we have to hope that the right person is appointed with the right management team. I mean, it is absolutely key that it's not just about the manager. As we all know, like it's so important that they have a good coaching staff with them, medical people. Like you need a really good group around you, all of whom are kind of empowered. As to whatever their role is, that they're given the opportunity to really do that job well.
I think financial backing too is often important. And we've seen the most successful teams over the last few years. Yeah. The Dublin football team, we've seen Tipperary last year, the investment that was put into them, the Limerick team in JP, and that. So it is, the facts are there to say that every county team now needs a massive financial backing, and that has to be an important part of it too, hasn't it?
Without a doubt, you need like across any sports. You look at whatever the sports, even globally, the teams that generally have the most money win most of the time, or at least compete. That is a very important point. Will the Clare Supporters Club be kept going? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. But come back to your question. We don't know who the backroom teams are, and as long as that doesn't matter, as long as obviously the two people that are going for the manager's job know who they are and are confident in their capability to deliver, and presumably they'll be asked that question probably this time, and
hope so.
I mean, look, I suppose the other thing is, and maybe it's a bit late now to be talking about this, like Clare have won 3 All-Irelands since 95, and there's nobody from those All-Ireland winning teams involved in this selection committee. Now, we don't win too many All-Irelands. I would like to see a couple of lads who know what it takes. And to be honest, I'd lean more towards 2013, because the game and the world has changed a lot since 95, 97. That how come a couple of people from who have retired since 2013 aren't involved in this selection committee, because they'd still be of an age that would really know what's needed in a manager, in a coach, in a selector, in all of the roles involved in intercounty hurling management, and I think they would add a lot of depth to that. And it's no disrespect to the people involved.
No, it's not. But even the current crop of players, and I'm very much for one that They shouldn't dictate the pace and the speed of anything. Any player shouldn't, but they definitely should have a serious part to play in the process of selection the next manager and his backroom team. The current group of players. I think they've been isolated from this quite a bit. And we saw in their statement that they, and I think that's very unfair. I think they should have, if it's maybe 4 out of the current crop of players that's designated by the panel of last year to sit down around the forum, around the group that are now selecting the next and have an input into it. And seriously, because they know what it takes. They know what they want. And, at the end of the day, then, when they have a say in the selection, they have a part to play now in making sure that they're responsible for outcomes.
I'd agree with you up to a point. I wouldn't agree that players should be given an option as to who do you think should the next manager be. But I do think that they should be given the opportunity to even talk to this committee, for example, that has been put in place, and to outline to them what they feel the next management should bring with them, but also as well to maybe look at themselves, and say, well, look, maybe we let the previous management down in this respect, in that respect. I think a bit of I think there's a bit of that needed as well. And I suppose the phrase I would use that's needed as regards to players and the county board or this 5-person committee is effective communication. Communicate both ways, and you'll get a much better picture. Then the committee, I think, would have a much better picture as regards which of the managements maybe fit the bill best heading into 2020.
I think it's a no-brainer. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Peter, whereby if Pat O'Connor, just as captain, right, we just use Pat as the example, was to go to this committee and say, listen, the players feel that we need the strongest person we could get is a strength and conditioning coach that can focus on X, Y and Z, a selector that can help us cut down on freeze or cut down on whatever, and a forwards coach that can make the most of X scenarios. And you take that information, you don't need to tell the players that Martin, Jim and Tom are in the running, but you go and you apply those principles then to Martin, Jim and Tom and see which one can fit best. So effectively you're serving the players' purposes without allowing them to dictate to you how you do that. It seems simple when you break it down.
Do you think the players should be given a say in terms of who the next manager is, or do you, what we're saying, do you kind of...
In this scenario, Peter, the players have been completely dislocated from the whole process.
Yeah, definitely.
And my first statement, I said they shouldn't be allowed to dictate the pace and the speed of the process, but they should have an input that's because at the end of the day, it's happening at club level, guys. It's happening where clubs are saying, well, look, at after 2 years under a management team, we need to get it to a new level, or we're happy with the process, but we need probably to get in maybe strength and conditioning coach just a little bit more braver with us, and we need to get in maybe a forwards coach that we hadn't got last year. So teams do and lads do have a say in what is good for their development, and I think that's awful important. I do, because on two fronts, they are the people that have their hands on the wheel. They know what it has taken them to get to a level and maybe fallen below a level, but it also gets rid of the safety net of them saying at the end of next year, sure, how could we perform when we had no say in the process? We weren't prepared properly. But now if they have a say in it, okay, they don't dictate who's the next manager, but they have a say in it and they agree upon it. Well, then now I think you're taking away that safety net that might fall back in saying, well, we've no say in it, how could we perform when the setup wasn't right? And it's awful important, because these days, these fellas are driven anyway. They're so professional, and they just need to be probably taken a little bit by the hand and maybe felt that they're a part of the whole thing, to really rubber stamp that they are the most important people in the setup. But to dislocate them and leave them for 4 months with not a say, or leave them in isolation of we don't know what's happening. It must have been fair embarrassing if I met a player and said, well, last week or 2 weeks ago, what do you think is happening? Who do you think is... I haven't a clue. Nobody contacted me. That must be fair embarrassing for an intercounty. No, you don't have the 36 in line and kept updated on everything, but you have 4 or 5 that are senior people. You mentioned Pat O'Connor, you mentioned Tony Kelly, you mentioned David McInerney. These lads have been around the block now for quite a few years. Like, they know what they need, they know what the group needs, and they should have been sitting inside. And and I'm sure if I was chairman, a club team or of a club or of a county board, I'd be definitely engaging with these fellas because they know.
Yeah, and it's not too late to do that because the interviews are tomorrow night and there's a board meeting, we understand, next Tuesday night. So that leaves you a break of about a week from your interviews till your announcement. You don't need to have spoken to the players before the interviews. You've got your information for the interviews. Now go to the players, get their feedback, and then apply it to the information you have. So there's still time to get this right in some way, shape, or form.
I think it'd be better to talk to them before the interviews. I think you'd be better informed going in than
But that's not happened now. So what I'm saying is,
at least talk to them.
No, maybe it has happened. Like we don't know, but I would imagine that it probably hasn't, given that there's such a short time frame from yesterday evening to the interview on Wednesday night. Hopefully it has, but if it hasn't, you can still get that player input at the same time.
I mean, look at next year, 2020 League Championship. The likes of us and loads of other people are going to be judging these Clare players. We're going to be saying, oh, sure, that fella shouldn't be playing at all, or that fella should be brought on, or this fella should be taken off. We're going to be judging management. But what we'll all have forgotten about next March, April, May is that the process to get him to get the new management team appointed was very, very flawed from the start. Now maybe, hopefully, it has improved a bit now, but the situation that we've had throughout the summer, from when Clare were knocked out, the autumn, and now the winter, is not helping Clare. It's not helping the Clare senior hurling team to be a better team come next year's league, and most importantly, come next year's championship.
And let's look at, again, not for the sake of repeating ourselves, we've been saying this for quite a while, that the whole thing has been just an absolute embarrassment, really. And now what we really have to, and okay, we're all fairly happy now that the right process is taking its toll and taking its place, and let's be patient for another week or so. But the bottom line here is that we're going to have, no matter what way we look at it, we're going to have a senior hurling team next year that has started on the back foot. And that's the bottom line. And we have to be very fair to these guys. And I'm sure there's none of those guys will be looking for that kind of an excuse come the day they put the Clare jersey over their head and go out to represent Clare Munster final or league games. They will be giving it 110%. But there's going to be days when it's going wrong for these lads, and it will come back to the process that happened 4 months ago. It will come back to that, and that's unfair. That I would love to would have had that safety net gone from everybody, including ourselves, because we're sure going to bring it back up again. I'm sure when the day, and hopefully we don't see it come Munster Championship, that these lads go a little bit flat on any given day, which can happen to any team, irrelevant of when managers are put in place and that. But every team should be given every best possibility to be ready to perform. And we in Clare, we've enough obstacles. We in Clare now have shot ourselves again in the foot, and we're on the back foot starting off, which is wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep a close eye on that as it progresses. Obviously, we'll have more details as it becomes available. So as news breaks, we'll bring it to you between our social media channels, website, podcast and newspaper. So we'll keep you covered across the board. To Fergie/Rory Hickey, thanks for coming into the studio. Yeah, it was a quick transformation.
Yeah.
Peter as well, and to Sean on camera behind the scenes. We'll talk to you again next week, folks. Do take care.